Hey everybody, Tom Barnes, Stories from the 78 here in Old Town at a building and a business that have been in this neighborhood for over 100 years. House of Glunz right here in Old Town. I'm going to talk to the third generation owner of this family run business here in Chicago on Wells Street right off of Division. Her name is Barbara. We're going to get the story about the Glunz Tavern and the shop and the whole thing now for this story from the 78. All right, so now I'm sitting down inside one of the oldest bars in the city. Maybe people don't realize it or not, but I have the third generation of the Glunz family here. Hi, Barbara. How are you?
Hello. How are you?
I'm wonderful. So your family has been in this neighborhood in Old Town right here on Wells Street for over 100 years.
Yes, 135.
135 years. All started by your grandfather, right?
Right. Yes, he came here from Germany, and the whole neighborhood was German at the time. So it was a natural place to be. And coming to Chicago was also natural because after the fire, things were booming. There were lots of jobs. And also they knew that the World's Fair was coming up. So
right. So this is right after the fire,
exactly.
Before the World's Fair. And you mentioned other people that were on this block. Like on this block,
Sure,
not in the
yes,
city,
and
but on the block.
And they all came together. Oscar Mayer.
Like the hot dog Oscar
hot dog
Mayer.
Oscar.
Yeah. Just making sure.
And Dr. Scholl,
The shoe.
which is now where Copper Square is, down the street.
So Dr. Scholl's, you have the world-renowned Oscar Mayer, all pals from Germany that came to Chicago, looking for work, started their own businesses, and look at them now.
Natural entrepreneurs, really, that went into business. And now my grandfather had come here, came to Chicago, and his first job was with Charles Wacker, who had a brewery.
And that's the same Wacker that the street's
Wacker
named
Street
after, right?
Drive, yes.
And also the Wacker Drive, but the mayor of Chicago.
Yes, yeah.
Your grandfather knew some people.
Well, they were all Germans. I don't think anybody realizes how many people. I think I read it was 1 out of 5, or maybe more, that were German that were in Chicago at the time.
Well, that can explain a lot too. With you think about the North Side neighborhoods, Humboldt Park, Lincoln Square,
going all the way down Lincoln Avenue.
Right.
Right. Yeah. Lincoln.
So your grandfather came to Chicago, started his. So did he start
then he worked for Mr. Wacker for a number of years, and Mr. Wacker's wife had a skin problem, a rash that they couldn't get rid of anything, and my grandfather sent for some herbal medicine from Germany that he knew would do it, and sure enough, it cured her. So Mr. Wacker was really beholden to him, thrilled.
I bet.
And when my grandfather decided he wanted to go into business himself, Mr. Wacker lent him the money to start business.
That's unbelievable.
It is.
So, yeah, I'm just doing all the connections in my head. That's some serious Chicago history right there.
It is, yes.
And this spot here, we're at on Wells Street here in Old Town, right at the beginning of Old Town, kind of separating downtown and Old Town, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
And
it does. Division to North Avenue and then west out that way.
Right.
Out
And
Lincoln Avenue.
so did it start off with the distribution company, the store?
No, it started out with the store, and there wasn't separation between wholesale and retail.
Got it.
So my grandfather had a series of wagons, horse-drawn wagons. He had a warehouse across the street that they kept the wagons and the horses in.
Wow.
And they did houses all across the Gold Coast and around Chicago, and also then selling to taverns and restaurants.
Which were booming at the time just
Yes,
because the World's Fair that was coming and Chicago was booming.
Yeah. And then my father, my grandfather unfortunately died a year after my parents were married. They were married in 29 and he died in 31 actually. And my brother Lou was born. So it's the only grandchild that he saw.
Wow, really? And he started this wonderful spot here where you had the store, and some of the artwork in the store is original from the day that it was painted.
Oh, it is, yes. He had those done. Those are well over 100 years old.
And then at some point he bought the building next door, and that's where the bar,
That's
the tavern opened.
It had the tavern in it, and he continued that. So much of the memorabilia that we have here, it's all original. It was all up in the attic, covered in soot, but we cleaned it all up and have put it there. So everything here is authentic.
Wow. And so you had the bar and the tavern and going until Prohibition, and then your family took a complete different turn,
Yeah.
obviously, because they were in the
Well,
alcohol business.
Yeah, they did, sure. Well, you see, people were allowed to make, I think it was like 300 gallons for home consumption. You have to understand that Chicago was a variety of ethnic groups
Sure.
from Europe who just would have caused another civil war, an earlier civil war, if they were not allowed to have any alcohol, wine with their dinner. So they were able to make their own wine. So my grandfather sold all the things that they would need. They had bricks of grapes that were crushed, that were compact, that were sold. And if you added water, the instructions said, do not add water because it might ferment. So people would have that. But he sold the bottles and the labels, the corks, everything that people would need to make their own, to have their home consumption.
Did they really?
Then my father actually would go and help people. He always had a scientific bend and had studied over in Bonn he had such good native German speaking that he was able to pass himself off as a German student. And he went to Bonn to school when he was over there.
That's wonderful. And so what happened with the tavern, though, during this time?
Well, we changed it and used as event space. Variety of things. For the 75th anniversary, things kind of jump around here, I'm sorry.
Yeah, sure. No, it's okay. It's your story.
But, when I was little, this was used as storage for cases because liquor was the big thing, much bigger than wine. So this room was, when I was little, it was filled with cases, and the high-end things were in a wired cage kind of thing.
Sure.
But that's what it was used for. And then as the beer company came bigger, and then the wine company also, then this room was changed for the 75th anniversary into a museum, a wine museum. And people coming on tours to Old Town would come through here, and they would show them all around here, what the different parts of, a lot of things from rectifying instruments and for the wine. What I missed up was that at the time, in the early 30s and 40s after Prohibition, the most popular wine in America was fortified. So port and sherry and muscatel were all that was sold.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, no, it did not until really the 60s when fortified wine was actually the most popular wine in America. The basement down below us was filled with barrels.
Wow.
Because my father would bring these things in from Portugal and from Spain. Sherry, port, and muscatel. We had two Kellermeisters that worked full-time in the basement, taking care of all of the wines that were down there in barrel. So.
Sounds like you're...
And then they would bottle,
Oh, they do that here too?
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
And we all, after school, because it was a kind of fancy neighborhood, we would actually help down there. I, learned to label and bottle and to cork things. We had a hand corker that we used.
Really?
So, as children, we did a lot of work after school in the evenings.
And how long did that continue when they were doing all that kind of work in this building?
Probably in the early 50s.
Oh, okay. And all this time, though, the bar was closed. The bar was not a bar.
It
the
was
bar
not
closed
a bar.
at Prohibition.
It was closed before Prohibition.
Right. And then in 2012, somebody said, maybe we should open that bar again.
Well, it was before that. We had thought of this idea a long time ago. My daughters are very interested in food and different. Been to France a few times and wanted to open a bistro here.
Oh.
But it just didn't seem the time was right. And then with the buildings, the high-rises being built here with the end of Cabrini Green, and people who actually live in the neighborhood moving in, it made all the difference in the world. So it seemed it was time for us to open.
And you've been open ever since the bar?
2012, yes, we had a lot of work. I mean, bringing this room back to where it is now.
Right, but you even mentioned that the wainscoting on the walls here,
Yes,
that's
when
original.
we took down the plywood which was covering the walls, the original wainscoting was there. So we were thrilled with that. The ceiling is original.
It's a tin
And-
ceiling?
Yeah, and the floor is original.
Floor is original.
yeah.
And then you're curated to get a bar built to kind of look of the
Yes.
era of the
we
building,
wanted
right?
everything
With
to
the Brunswick
look like
Company.
it was 100 years old, exactly, yeah. The chairs actually are from, we bought them when the Berghoff closed.
Oh,
First time
the first
the
time.
Berghoff closed, yes.
Right.
Yeah. And they were made by the Amish in Indiana, so I love having the chairs. They're very comfortable.
So your family, well, you have been a part of this business
Yes.
off and on for your whole life.
My whole life, right. I think I told you we lived here until I was 13.
Yes.
We lived upstairs, so it was, we were a part of the business. It's been in our blood all the time, really. That's why I love it here, and as difficult as it is to do business many times, and how the whole industry has changed. And,
I bet, but
the big box stores and the discounting retailers and all. So we do hope that we offer something different.
you do. I mean, you can. The store itself is just a wonderful experience. You even have a tasting room.
Well, we were pleased with Chicago Magazine named us the best wine store in Chicago.
Well, ding
And
ding.
then a few years ago, Wine Enthusiast Magazine named us in the top 5 in the United States of top shelf stores. So I think they're accommodating the fact that we have wines from all over the world, very unique wines. We go in for family-owned, independent wineries, very much so. We always want to have some wines that people recognize that they
Sure.
have seen before. But for the most part, we talk to every customer and find the best wine for them. So
That's amazing. And you said that you came back to the bar business, the alcohol business, the family business, I should
Yeah.
say, in 2004 as a retirement job.
yes,
It's
Yes,
2023. I just want to point out.
right. Yes, when my mother died, that's when I inherited the store, and now my son is my partner, whom I obviously could not do without at this point in
Of
life.
course. It's a true
but,
labor of love, it seems.
It is a labor of love. It's a labor of passion and finding someone to help that will exhibit that to the customer is important to us.
Absolutely. And as business is picking up here, so I'm gonna let you go. But
Yeah.
as far as like the legacy that is Glunz, what's the biggest memory or the biggest moment that you're most proud of from what your grandfather started to right now?
I think when I have customers come back, today I spoke with a corporation that they had gone somewhere else. We helped them 3 years ago, and they were sending out corporate gifts for someone else for the last time. And he said, no one did it like we did. So that makes me feel good. And when customers come in and say, well, I've never gotten a bad wine, even if they've only paid $10 for it, or if they've paid $5,000 for it, we try to have something that pleases everyone. We do cover the world. We've gotten quite a reputation for our Eastern European wines.
And I think your grandfather and grandmother would be proud. I mean, you said, was there how many grandchildren?
My parents have 37
37.
grandchildren. Yes.
Your parents,
Now,
37.
how many
sorry.
great-grandchildren
well,
there'd
great
be, I don't
grandchildren.
know,
Yeah,
because
that's-
everyone has, has
a lot.
lots of children. Yeah.
but you're one of 5 siblings, right?
I'm one of 5.
Yeah.
Right, yeah. And I have 6 children, so. And
Well,
that's
I
where we
don't know if Louis would have known what was going to happen here on Wells Street all those years ago.
No,
but
I think of that when we sit out on the patio. And we love having all the flowers out there and the tables and chairs. And it really, I think, Grandpa, what do you think of this?
I think you would be proud. That's what I think.
I hope so. That means a lot.
It's been an absolute pleasure talking with you, Barbara. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, that's the story here at the Glunz Tavern, Tom Barnes, Chicago at gmail.com. If you have a story from the 78 suggestion, or go over to the website storiesfromthe78.com. We'll see you guys later. Thanks.